Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are gonna talk about a new series that I wanna launch in this channel. It's called Agent Power Coding. This series is not about just vibe coding, it's a step forward, more like using agents or using coding assistants to empower your development, not to replace your development. In my opinion, those are the four main skills that any AI first developer should have. It needs to know what are MCPs, what are subagents, what are skills, and what are spec model. I will give you a brief introduction on each of them just to understand what we are talking about, and then we're going to move to today's topic, MCPs. So a coding agent really needs just those four pieces. MCPs are just connections between your agent and all the tools that you use. For example, Sentry for traces for errors, either convex MCP or any other database MCP that you use so you can retrieve data and understand better your database schema and data. Then we have subagents, and we will also explain what's the difference between subagents and skill. First of all, a subagent, it's something that can be spawned by your main agent and will do some work for you in its own isolated environment. So it has its own context window, its own tools. It just does some stuff. Let's say, for example, we have research subagents. The main agent will understand that he has this tool on his disposal and he starts the subagent. The subagent brings back the data that the main agent needs. The main difference with skills is that subagents are fully loaded in the context window of the main agent, so it can bring some context poisoning. Skills instead are just SOPs for your agent. Basically, you teach your agent to do specific stuff in a specific way, and your agent will understand when to use it. The good thing is that on a context level, the only two things that are rendered every time in your agent are just the skill name and the skill description, so your context doesn't get bloated. The last thing is a spec model. What's a spec model? Usually, we are talking about high reasoning models that will help you create PRDs and plans. And usually, this place is taken by one OpenAI model. Initially was O3, now it's GPT-5 High. You can also use other heavy models like Opus, but it's going to cost you a lot more money. If you are rich as fuck, you can also use GPT-5 Pro. That's the best in class for any kind of debugging, spec, and PRDs. Now, since we are done with our introduction, let's start with MCPs. As I already explained, MCPs are just a way to connect your main agent with different tools. And here I will show you all the MCPs that I use daily. First of all, let's start with the Convex MCP. Convex, it's both your database and your whole backend. It's super fucking cool. I'm not low level enough to explain it to you, but they have a great channel, so you can check them on their YouTube channel. This is an example of a database MCP. My main suggestions are just give your agent read access to your database. If you want to give him write access, make sure your database is backed up or you are running on a test environment. The second one is quite peculiar. It's called Docker MCP Kit. For this, you will need a Docker desktop app. And here in the MCP toolkit, you can choose all those MCP here. So for example, I had Context 7, Exa, Firecrow, and Playwright. And with just one MCP connection, you will be able to access all of those MCPs, and your API keys are already stored directly in your Docker desktop, since both X and Firecrow need an API key. Let's see this subsection of MCPs, what they are and what they are needed for. Context 7, it's a really good MCP. It's completely free and it's needed to fetch documentation. So you ask it, for example, what are the latest ways of doing X on Next.js 16, and it will give you the documentation. X and Firecrow are almost the same thing. I use them both because they have their own peculiarity. Firecrow is really good at searching, but the best thing that it does is crawling. So you give him specific web pages that you know that you're gonna need, let's say docs pages, and it will crawl them perfectly. Exa, it's more of a search engine, and it has specific functionalities to search for code. It's called like hexacode sum. But in short, they are both needed to search the web for specific documentation or for specific information. The last one is Playwright from Microsoft. It spawns a browser where your agent can check your UI, can check if the buttons work, etc., etc. Everything you can do on a normal browser. The next one is called Jam. Jam is quite new for me and I still need to test it early, but it's mainly an MCP to check errors in general. So you create a recording, it's called Jam recording, and it loads data into context. So it loads the video, the user event, the console logs, the errors, and the network request. So it's gonna be easier for your agent to debug your app. The next MCP is the official linear MCP, and it's really, really useful if you are using linear as your task manager, where you check your issues. So it just connects with your linear, and you can go back and forth, and you don't need to write your issues manually, basically. Playwright, we already checked. Sentry is another amazing debug tool. Is needed to check your traces, to check the bugs you have in prod, and you don't need to copy paste it in your agent. This is more UI based. This is the official ShadCN MCP, but this doesn't only have the main ShadCN components. You can add a bunch more registries and they will be loaded directly into your MCP. As you can see here, you can add multiple registry. So Remix, Astro, etc., etc. And this is really, really cool to get specific components from a lot of libraries. The last one that I want you guys to know is the Vercel MCP. This is amazing because if you are like me that sometimes need specific logs from Vercel, or sometimes your code is so shit that it doesn't even build, this is a two-way connection with your Vercel, and you can check if the deployment went through, if you had specific logs that you need to check, etc. So it's basically connecting your agent to Vercel itself. Now that we are done with the MCP suggestions, let's try to add those MCPs. For example, this Vercel MCP, you can add it super, super easy. It's just like this. Cloud MCP add the transport, so it's HTTP, the name, and the link. Also, if you want to add it globally, you just do like this, it's -s, and you add it globally so you can have access to it in all your cloud sessions. If you do it just like this, you are gonna have it only in the project where you install it. Okay, that's it for today's video. We saw a bunch of cool MCPs that you should all try, how to add it to Cloud Code. And let me know if I didn't mention some MCPs that you guys use every day. I hope you're gonna see also the rest of the series. Trust me, it's gonna be quite interesting. And at the end of the series, we are gonna put everything together and we are gonna build a small project together. So thank you for watching and bye-bye.